Menu RAHMA discount card offers up to 40% discount for operators. Makasih Sharia guidance to strengthen Malaysia's Islamic capital market. Good evening and salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight. I'm SAHIH. Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fadil said the federal government and 5 main mobile service providers have agreed to share the cost of resolving the issue of bare telecommunications towers in Sarawak.
Secara dasarnya, Kerajaan Persekutuan dan syarikat penyedia perkhidmatan mudah alih utama iaitu Celcom Digi, Maxis, U-Mobile, TM-Tech dan YTL Communications telah bersetuju untuk berkongsi kos yang perlu dibayar kepada pengendali menara tersebut. Untuk makluman, pembiayaan dari Kerajaan Persekutuan dan pihak syarikat penyedia perkhidmatan mudah alih melibatkan satu jumlah yang tidak melebihi 207 juta ringgit.
Elaborating further, the minister said the operation of these towers for the provision of 4G services in phases will start as early as January 2024. Meanwhile, Fahmi said the ministry will present a paper at the National Council for Local Government today to start discussions with all state governments to resolve issues related to the construction of telecommunication towers across the country. On the issue of 196 telecommunications towers across the country that had to wait up to 9 months for fibre installation, Fahmi said he had ordered the installation of microwave antenna dishes on all towers to ensure they could operate immediately. The government today introduced the special RAHMA discount card, which offers up to 40% discounts to operators of Menu RAHMA to purchase essential items for their business. Acting Domestic Trade and Cost of Living Minister Dr Armizan Muhammad Ali said, through this card, operators can obtain their ingredients from 6 supermarkets which have established cooperation with the ministry. The 6 supermarkets involved are Aeon Big, EconSafe, Giant, Lotus, Maidin and NSK.
Jadi kita amat berterima kasih kepada mereka yang telah bersedia untuk menawarkan menu RAHMA pada kadar RM5 ke bawah. Jadi 2,849 mereka yang terlibat. Atas sebab itu kita memikirkan apakah bentuk insentif dan juga galakan yang boleh kita berikan kepada mereka yang telah bersama-sama membantu kerajaan dalam agenda untuk menangani kos sara hidup tersebut. Atas sebab itulah kita memikirkan satu lagi pendekatan, iaitu penawaran kad diskaun RAHMA.
He said this at the launch of the special discount card, which was also attended by Deputy Minister of Domestic Trade and Cost of Living, Fuziah Saleh. Among the items offered at a discount rate to Menu RAHMA operators whose participation has been approved are raw items such as chicken, onions and other basic items to help them reduce the cost of fruit preparation. To date, a total of 2,849 registered premises are offering RAHMA menu, and it is hoped that more will participate in this initiative. The review of the Public Service Remuneration System (SSPA) focuses on increasing the productivity and efficiency of the public service through the use of technology and human capital skills. Director General of Public Service Dr Dr SRI Muhammad, in a statement today, said that the performance of civil servants will be viewed from the aspect of productivity that justifies appropriate salaries for civil servants, their well-being in coping with the cost of living and the country's fiscal sustainability in financing public service-related expenses. The government, in a meeting of the Cabinet Committee on Public Service Reform, JKKPPA, on 7th August, has agreed in principle to the Public Service Department's PSD review of SPPA. It is an effort to improve public service performance in accordance with Malaysia Madani's aspirations, taking into account the fact there has been no comprehensive review of the remuneration system since 2002. According to Dr Dr the review of the SSPA was initiated on 29 July this year via a series of engagement sessions with ministries and federal government agencies that covered 6 groups, namely technical, health, education, security, management and science and technology. To ensure that no civil servant is left behind, the Director General of Public Service said that the PSD would hold more engagement sessions through town halls, conventions and meetings with stakeholders. Prime Minister Dr SRI Anor today received a courtesy call from China's State Councillor and Public Security Minister Wang, who is on a 3-day working visit to Malaysia. Wang arrived at Perdana Putra at 3:10 p.m. before both leaders proceeded to a meeting which lasted about an hour. In his latest Facebook post, the Premier said that during the meeting, he and Wang exchanged views on current and international issues, particularly those related to security aspects that require cooperation between the two countries. He also said this year also marks the 10th anniversary of Malaysia-China Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, and both countries will also celebrate the 50th anniversary of their diplomatic relations in 2024. Therefore, at today's meeting, Dr SRI Anor also extended an invitation to China's President Xi Jinping to visit Malaysia next year in conjunction with the celebration of the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between the two countries. The Premier further expressed hope that more opportunities for cooperation between Malaysia and China can be created for the benefit of both parties. The meeting was also attended by Home Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail and China's Ambassador to Malaysia Ouyang Eugene. Coming up in our business segment, Bank Negara keeps OPR at 3% for third consecutive time. The newly launched principles-based Maqasid Al-Sharia guidance for the Islamic capital market ICM is set to unlock and strengthen the full potential of the ICM in Malaysia, thus solidifying the country's position as a leader in the global Islamic economy. Deputy Finance Minister Datuk Sri Ahmad Maslan said the guidance would serve as a solution to the various challenges and opportunities in the market by emphasizing the substance rather than form.
As the Prime Minister mentioned in his budget speech, it is crucial that we remain at the forefront in charting the way for the Islamic economy. We must enhance the link between Islamic economic practices and the adherence to the Al-Quran and Sunnah. Hence, the launch of this new guidance is both ideal and timely.
The guidance was developed by Securities Commission Malaysia or SC through engagement with its Sharia Advisory Council members and various domestic and international stakeholders and benchmarked against various international best practices. SC Chairman Datuk Sri Awang Adik Hussein meanwhile said the guidance aimed to further enhance the local ecosystem Senet based on the true spirit of Islamic finance. Moving forward, he said the outlook for the ICM remains promising, backed by its strong foundation. A prominent academician has suggested the substantial savings from the discontinuation of the 3.8 billion ringgit in chicken subsidies should be strategically channeled into key initiatives for the people. University Malaysia Sabah UMS Senior Lecturer Associate Professor Dr Romzi Ationg said the significant windfall could be allocated to creating or enhancing cash assistance programs, building schools and hospitals, upgrading dilapidated clinics and supporting small and medium enterprises SMEs. Elaborating further while speaking to Bernama, Dr Romzi said these cash assistance programs, for example, can be a lifeline for individuals and families struggling to make ends meet. Dr Romzi also stressed the need to strategically utilize the terminated subsidy funds to support SMEs, as these enterprises are integral to economic growth and job creation. He also underscored the imperative to use the substantial savings effectively for the benefit of the public, as the decision to terminate long-standing chicken subsidies is anticipated to yield significant savings, and it's crucial that these savings are put to good use for the welfare of the nation. Islamic social finance can play a vital role in promoting inclusive growth and shared prosperity in Malaysia. The World Bank Group's Country Director for Brunei, Malaysia, the Philippines and Thailand, Dr Diami Diop, said one such example is Bank Negara Malaysia's Itikad program, which combines an innovative social blended financing instrument with structural training for micro-entrepreneurs to ensure they have the right skills to independently generate recurrent income in the future. Elaborating further on the matter, Dr. Diami said this showed that social finance can go beyond just closing financial gaps by being structured in ways to further empower undeserved population and foster inclusion. On the same note, he said the newly launched Maqasid Al-Shariah guidance for the Islamic capital market ICM is an important tool to catalyse the next leap forward in Malaysia's ICM development and consolidate the country's leadership in global Islamic financial markets. Dr. Diop noted that over the past 6 years, Malaysia has taken several initiatives that have increased Islamic finance's footprint domestically and placed the country at the frontier of global Islamic finance innovation. Bank Negara Malaysia's Monetary Policy Committee or MPC has decided to keep the overnight policy rate OPR unchanged at 3.00% as it expects growth to expand, driven by domestic demand amid strong labour market conditions. At the current OPR level, the central bank said the monetary policy stance remains supportive of the economy and is consistent with the current assessment of the inflation and growth prospect. The central bank said global growth remains weighed down by persistently elevated inflation and higher interest rate, with several major economies experiencing slowing growth momentum. For the Malaysian economy, BNM said the advanced gross domestic product GDP estimate points to an improvement in economic activity in the third quarter. It said the growth in 2024 will be driven mainly by resilient domestic expenditure, with some support emanating from the expected recovery in electrical and electronic E&E exports. According to the Bank Negara, continued employment and wage growth remains supportive of household spending. The central bank added that it will continue to manage risks of heightened volatility, including to provide liquidity to ensure the orderly functioning of the domestic foreign exchange market. The ringgit opened higher against the US dollar today after the United States Federal Open Market Committee (FOMC) made an unanimous decision to keep the Fed fund rate steady at range of 5.25 to 5.50% during its meeting last night. Bank Muamalat Malaysia Berhad, Chief Economist and Head of Social Finance Dr. Muhammad Afzal Nizam Abdul Rashid said the decision by the US Federal Reserve Fed aligned with market expectations. However, he noted that the Fed's evaluation of the economy is showing a more cautious stance, and in accompanying FOMC statement, it was explicitly stated that the tightening of financial and credit conditions is expected to impact economic activities. The term financial likely refers to the significant increase in long-term US Treasury yields, which has reduced the need for the Fed to implement additional monetary tightening measures. He also said the current development could have a positive effect on the ringgit as it has been in an oversold condition for an extended period. Meanwhile, the local currency was traded lower against a basket of major currencies and traded mixed against other ASEAN currencies. Bursa Malaysia Derivatives, Berhad BMD and Dalian Commodity Exchange DCE have signed the licensing agreement for soybean oil futures settlement price, the first product collaboration between a Chinese derivatives exchange and an ASEAN and Asian exchange based outside of the Republic. Under the agreement, DCE has authorized Bursa Malaysia Derivatives to use the settlement price of DCE soybean oil futures as the basis to calculate the cash settlement price of its upcoming new product, the Bursa Malaysia DCE soybean oil futures contract FSOY. The underlying asset of the FSOY contract will mirror that of the DCE soybean oil futures. The product is targeted to be launched by Bursa Malaysia in the first quarter of 2024, subject to regulatory approval. The latest collaboration between BMD and DCE marks a historic milestone in the development of the Asian derivatives market. The licensing agreement was signed at the 17th China International Oils and Oilseed Conference CIOC held in Dalian, China. The soybean oil futures launched by DCE in 2006 are widely used as a price reference for China's spot soybean oil trades, while their institutional market participants are industry players who account for 90% of the soybean crushing volume in China. Inter-Pacific Asset Management viewed the 4 to 5% gross domestic product GDP target as remaining intact, buoyed by the much better progress from the global front, especially in China, which could continue giving domino effect to Malaysia despite the slightly lower third quarter 3Q economic growth forecast for this year. Chief Economist and Fund Manager Dr Nazri Adam Han, the target is within the range of Bank Negara Malaysia BNM target and is still attainable despite Malaysia's GDP growth forecast of 2.9% for the third quarter 2023. Department of Statistics Malaysia projected Malaysia's GDP in the third quarter of 2023 to grow by 3.3%. The central bank is scheduled to announce the official 3Q23 GDP growth on 10th November this year. Additionally, he said the introduction of targeted subsidies would help the rakyat that need it the most while helping the government to manage the deficits. On the government ending chicken subsidies and price controls effective 1st November, Dr Nazri Khan said the government should focus on looking into ways to reduce the import goods inflation, especially the food segment, which in turn would also help reduce the inflation. Nevertheless, he said Malaysia's current inflation is still well within expectation and he does not foresee a surge in inflation. Both airlines and airport operators in Malaysia need to continuously look for ways to expand their businesses beyond the traditional market to stay agile and competitive. In saying this, Transport Minister Anthony Loke hoped the industry players would actively pursue new connectivities between Malaysia and other regions besides China, South Korea and Turkey. Speaking at the KEPA Asia Aviation Summit and Sustainability Awards 2023, Loke said the need was crucial as the recovery of tourist arrivals in almost all regional markets stood at 70 to 80% of the pre-COVID levels except for China.
I think China is still challenging because of probably the slower opening up of the Chinese market, and in terms of the Chinese tourist arrivals, we have not seen to the level back before 2019. Before 2019, we have seen the arrival of 3 million Chinese tourists in Malaysia, but right now we are probably in the region of just over 1 million.
He further said the lower arrivals would likely indicate slower growth in that market versus other regions. A survey conducted by Europe Assistant EA with a market research company, Ipsos, indicates that 80% of Malaysian respondents have reported feeling excited to travel this year, with more than 72% of them planning to travel this year. EA Southeast Asia Chief Executive Officer Philip Dimanchiet in a statement today said 69% of Malaysian respondents are planning to travel abroad in 2023. While 41% intending to travel domestically as Malaysians favour ASEAN markets like Singapore, Thailand and the Philippines after the pandemic. He added Malaysians are also planning to spend an average of 6,500 ringgit all-inclusive per trip with an average of 10 days for the duration of the trip. Both budget and duration are comparatively lower as opposed to other regions, with inflation and cost as the main factors. The collaborative survey research is the output of the EA's 22nd edition of the Holiday Barometer on travel preferences across 15 countries including Malaysia. The survey research was conducted among 15,000 individuals with 1,000 respondents from each country. The Malaysia Aviation Group, MAG, is confident in fully restoring Malaysia Airlines Berhad MAB in-flight meal services by 15 November with better food and beverage products for passengers. MAG Group Managing Director Datuk Captain Izzam Ismail said the recovery to normalcy is at 97% at the moment and it has been a tough journey since the airline ended its contract with Brahim's Food Services BFS on 31st August. Nevertheless, Datuk Captain Izzam assured the passengers of MAB's commitment to come out from the in-flight meal issue while looking into launching ASEAN menus as the carrier services passengers around the globe. MAB currently has 8 caterers supplying in-flight meals. Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin is committed to transforming Thailand into a high-value technology and innovation-driven economy. Currently, Thailand's output primarily consists of low-profit commodities and primary agriculture products. Srettha, who is also the Finance Minister, said the country needs to integrate technology to improve overall productivity, particularly for the production of high-value products and services. He said the government intends to encourage the electric vehicle EV, smart electronics, robots and automation, medical and wellness, and processed food industries as future S-curve industries. Thailand, he said, has been facing rapid disruptive changes which could be called a polycrisis, namely a stagnant economy, global pandemic, advancing technology, international competition, shifting global orders and climate change. Meanwhile, Strata said the government has also adopted medium and long-term measures through plans such as using proactive economic diplomacy to open up doors to new markets for Thai products and services, as well as further development of special economic zones and economic corridors in all 4 regions of the country. Besides that, he said Thailand will also enhance the ease of doing business and improve incentive packages to attract foreign investments. Asian shares and bonds extended a global rally today as a non-committal Federal Reserve chief had markets double down on bets that US interest rates have peaked and cuts are on the way. MSCI's broadest index of Asia-Pacific shares outside Japan surged 1.6%, the biggest daily jump since late July, while Tokyo's Nikkei gained 1.1%. China's blue chips slipped 0.2%, while Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index jumped 0.9%. Overnight, the Fed held the policy rate steady in its current 5.25% to 5.50 range. While Chair Jerome Powell did not rule out another hike, markets judged he was not quite as hawkish as he might have been. For currencies, the retreat in Treasury yields pulled down the US dollar modestly, while the improvement in risk sentiment gave a lift to the battered Aussie and Kiwi dollars, which rose 0.5 and 0.7% respectively to multi-week tops. The yen continued to regain ground, up to 0.3%, and it had hit a one-year low after a Bank of Japan decision to ease its control over the 1% cap on 10-year yields, with the tweak seen insufficient to close the wide interest rate gaps between Japan and other countries. Oil prices traded higher where Brent crude futures climbed 1.0%, $85.50 a barrel, while US West Texas Intermediate futures were at $81.32 a barrel, up 1.1%. Egypt to assist evacuation of Gaza foreign nationals, that and more coming up in our foreign segment. Flags flew at half-mast in Beijing today as China observed the funeral of late ex-premier Li Keqiang. Li, an economist and fluent English speaker, died from a sudden heart attack in Shanghai last week at the age of 68, just months after stepping down as the country's second-ranked leader. The remains of Li were cremated at the Baboshan Revolutionary Cemetery in Beijing. The cemetery auditorium was immersed in solemnity with a mournful dirge playing in the background. The body of Li, covered with the flag of the CPC, lay amidst flowers and evergreen cypresses. Around 9 a.m., Xi Jinping and his wife and others slowly walked up to Li's remains, stood in solemn silence to pay their tributes and made 3 bows. Other party and state leaders either paid their final respect at the cemetery or expressed their condolences through various means. Egypt will help evacuate about 7,000 foreigners and dual nationals from the war-ravaged Gaza Strip. In a meeting with foreign diplomats, Assistant Foreign Minister Ismail Khairat said Egypt was preparing to facilitate the reception and evacuation of foreign citizens from Gaza through the Rafah crossing. The statement did not offer specific details or a timeline for the Egyptian evacuation plan. For the first time after weeks of deadly bombardment by Israel, the Rafah border crossing opened yesterday to let people out of Gaza. Egyptian officials said 76 wounded Palestinians and 335 foreign passport holders had crossed into Egypt. Among those who crossed were 31 Austrians, 4 Italians, 5 French nationals and some Germans. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said US citizens had also crossed from Gaza but declined to give a number. The Hamas-run health ministry has said intense Israel bombardment has killed nearly 8,800 people in Gaza, 2/3 of them women and children, since the fighting erupted on 7th October. Meanwhile, the United States called violence by West Bank settlers in tandem with the Israel-Hamas war incredibly destabilizing and urged Israel to rein them in. State Department spokesman Matthew Miller said settler violence in the West Bank is counterproductive to Israel's long-term security, in addition being extremely harmful to the Palestinians living in the West Bank. Violence in the West Bank has been on the rise since early last year, marked by frequent army raids, attacks by Israel settlers and Palestinian attacks on Israeli forces and settlers.
الأول في مشاكل بين عندنا سويين بس في بعدهم صارت حرب غازي يعني وصلت لدرجة إنه بدك تنحدى منها.
الحرب اللي تغير صار يجي على البيوت علينا، ما كان يجي على البيوت. صار يجي على البيوت يهاجم الناس البيوت، هذا اللي تغير بالحرب من 7 أكتوبر أول.
More than 120 West Bank Palestinians have been killed since the Gaza war began on 7th October. Next up in sports, Bosgor is not ready to surrender despite first leg mauling. Head coach Yusri Chetla said Perat FC may be down, but they are definitely not out yet. Having lost 4-1 to Johor Darul Takzim in their first leg of their Malaysia Cup semi-final clash on October 19, Perat will travel to Johor for the return leg clash at the Sultan Ibrahim Stadium tomorrow, needing to do the near impossible, erase the 3-goal deficit at the ground where the Southern Tigers have never lost before, especially in league matches at the domestic level. Despite admitting that the return leg match against JDT is going to be very tough, Yusri said that doesn't mean he and his players have given up. He also emphasized that they will be playing with no pressure this time, and with that, hopefully, all the players feel that this time will give their best for the whole duration of the match. Yusri also want his men to use tonight's game as a platform to maintain their momentum ahead of their 3 remaining Super League matches. Meanwhile, the Perat coach, he is hoping that winger 1 Zach Haikal Wanor will extend his stay with the team next season despite the Pahang-born player being linked with several other Super League sides. On another note, the state government will finalise a decision on the conversion to a Zion Zosia pitch at Perat Stadium by the end of this year. Ipoh Mayor Datuk Rumaizi Baharin said that for now, the discussion between the state government and the Ipoh City Council MBI is still ongoing and is aimed at an assessment of some specific matters. Commenting further on the matter, Datuk Rumaizi said there is an opinion that said that the process of planting the grass until it reaches maturity may take 6 to 8 months. This would be worrying as the team would then need to find an appropriate venue to replace the Perat Stadium when the league begins next year. In June, the Youth and Sport Ministry or KBS had offered allocations through matching grants to each state to upgrade stadium pitches with the cultivation of Zion Zosia grass. For now, only Sarawak has agreed to use Zion Zosia grass, while Terengganu, Federal Territories and Pahang opted for a different approach besides maintaining the use of existing cow grass. In addition, Dato' Rumaizi said that if the Perak state government agreed to use of Zion Zosia grass, there would be no obstacles other than being able to provide special allocations for maintenance costs. That concludes this evening's Malaysia Tonight. A reminder of a top story, Menu RAHMA discount card offers up to 40% discount for operators. Don't forget to tune in to World Today coming up tomorrow at 12:30 p.m. on TV2. Till then, I'm SAHIH Samsudin. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.